Hello and welcome to this Wi-Fi Nugget. My name is Tom Carpenter with CWNP, and today we're going to talk about using group policy in a Windows environment to push wireless LAN profiles to our client computers. I frequently have people asking me if there is a way to configure Windows-based laptop computers running Windows XP all the way through Windows 8 with wireless LAN profiles. And indeed there is a way that we can do this. Now we can accomplish this by connecting the laptop to the wired network just once and then allowing it to pull down the wireless LAN profiles. But we need to understand where we configure these central profiles, and the answer is in group policy. So to access group policy, you'll simply go to Start Administrative Tools and then Group Policy Management on a machine that has Group Policy Management installed. It doesn't have to be the domain controller. Any machine on which you've installed Group Policy Management can be used. Now, this is not intended to be a lecture or explanation of group policy, so I won't spend a lot of time talking about the complexities of selecting organizational units and building infrastructures in order to apply group policy. We'll just take a look at applying this particular Wi-Fi policy through group policy. So I'm going to come up to the root of my domain, right-click, and choose Create a GPO in this domain and link it here. Again, you might normally apply the GPO to an organizational unit or something like that. We'll call it Wireless Policy. And click OK. So now we have a wireless policy. We're going to right-click it and choose Edit. And that takes us into the Group Policy Management Editor. To get to the wireless policies, you need to go into the Computer Configuration section, and then Policies, Windows Settings, and Security Settings. In there, you will see that you have something called Wireless Network IEEE 802.11 Policies. You can right-click that and choose to create a new policy for Windows XP or a new policy for Vista and later. Simply give it a name. A description if you desire, and then choose whether or not you want to use the Windows Wireless LAN Auto Config service for clients, which is basically the built-in supplicant within the Windows operating system. Now I'm going to go ahead and add a profile. It's going to be an infrastructure profile and not an ad hoc, because as you'll see, we're going to disable ad hoc or independent basic service set wireless LANs. So we'll choose infrastructure. In this new profile, we'll call it Corporate 534. And we'll give it an SSID with the same name, Corp 534. So we're keeping it simple, assuming we have one SSID. Click on Add, and notice that we can connect automatically when this network is in range. We can connect to a more preferred network if it's available. And if we move this to the side, that has to do with these arrows right here. You can have multiple profiles. The ones at the top are more preferred than the ones at the bottom. And you can also say connect even if the network is not broadcasting, meaning that the SSID is hidden. We can go to Security, and here we can choose the type of security we want to use, such as WPA Enterprise or WPA2 Enterprise. And then we can choose the extensible authentication protocol we want to use. We're using Protected EAP because that is supported internally by the Windows clients automatically. And we can have user or computer authentication. If you click on Advanced, you'll see you have several different settings that you can configure. You can enforce specific 802.1x settings, such as the maximum EAP-PAL start messages allowed, the start period in seconds, the held period, and the authorization period. You can also enable single sign-on. This is something that you need to do if you want the laptop computers to be on the domain before the user logs on so that the user can log on to the domain. So this is a common thing that people ask. How can I make it so that a wireless client can allow that user to log on to a domain? Enable single sign-on, and that'll help. That's part of the process. You can read more about that in Microsoft's technical articles. And down at the bottom, we can configure fast roaming. So we can enable pairwise master key caching or PMK caching, giving it a time to live and the number of entries in the PMK cache. And we can also indicate, if we're using pre-authentication, that we have a certain maximum pre-authentication attempt threshold. That is to say, if a client sees 5 different access points, how many of them can it pre-authenticate with? Well, in this case, by default, only 3. We'll go ahead and click on OK, and that saves that profile. And then one last thing, we're going to go to the Network Permissions tab, and just note that here we can prevent connections to ad hoc networks. Now there are several other settings we can configure through policy, but we'll just go ahead and click on OK, because we've now seen how we go about creating that wireless policy. Of course, now we have to have a way to get it to those laptop computers. Obviously, there's the cart and horse issue of, well, they've not connected to the network, so they can't get the group policy. So therefore, you can't really create the wireless profile on the client, have them connect to the network and get the wireless profile. They've already got it now. You had to create it manually. So the concept is connect them to the wired network, and this wireless profile will come down. Now, what you can actually do is use two tools, GP Update and GP Result. GP Update and GP Result are command line tools. So you'll go to the command prompt. GP Update /force will automatically update the policies on that laptop. So if you connect it into the Ethernet network, you want to make sure it gets the most up-to-date policies. That'll take care of that. And then you can say GP Result /R, and that will show you the resultant set of policies. So you'll be able to see whether or not that wireless policy came down. Thanks for watching this Wi-Fi Technical Nugget today. And to learn more about the CWNP certifications, visit our website at www.cwnp.com.